Hi everyone, my name is Tanush. I'm a psychology grad student at UC San Diego, and today I'm going to discuss how information about people's musicality may change moral judgments about them. A large body of literature has shown that engaging in musical activities results in prosocial behavior. Why is this the case? One unexplored hypothesis may be that music affects people's moral judgments, which then influence behavior. So if you see that someone has this ability to enjoy music, do you judge them as more worthy of moral concern? We know that people grant different levels of moral concern to the various entities they interact with in their environment. For example, it's usually considered pretty wrong to harm a baby, but not really morally wrong to uproot a plant. So how do people make such decisions? Research has shown that sensitivity to physical and emotional experiences like pain, joy, or sadness, that's a key factor. And secondly, people find it is more wrong to harm creatures that are more intelligent. So with this framework in mind, we asked whether information about others' musicality would change judgments about how wrong it is to harm them. Specifically, does simply knowing that another entity is musical make us judge them more wrong to harm? If so, why? One possibility is that only highly musical people would show this effect due to some kind of similarity attraction, and so we tested this alternative. And then we also tested the idea that musicality signals others' greater capacity for emotionality or intelligence. Our online experiment began with participants meeting a host of real-life characters, including, for example, a frog, a robot, and a human baby. Amongst these, we dropped in two critical pairs of characters who differed only in their abilities to engage with music or not. So these were two different species of monkeys and a pair of adult men. Next, participants answered one question repeatedly. For example, if you were forced to harm one of these characters, which one would it be more painful for you to harm? They answered this question for all possible pairs of characters, two of which were our critical comparisons. We had 5 between subject conditions with different test questions each. Which one of these characters do you think is more musical, more intelligent, more capable of physical experiences like pain and hunger, or more emotionally sensitive? Finally, as a measure of individual differences in musicality, participants filled out the gold MSI musical engagement scale. So just to recap the key aspects of this design, we have 2 test pairs of musical and non-musical matched individuals, a pair of monkeys and a pair of humans. We ask if people will pick the musical ones as more wrong to harm, and then ask participants about their own level of musicality to check whether all people or only musical people show this effect. And here are the results. To remind you, we're predicting that people will choose the more musical entity as more wrong to harm, and we're asking why do they do this? Is it because they think musical entities are more intelligent, more sensitive, or something else entirely? So looking first at the critical trials, we see that in both monkey species and humans, musical characters were chosen as more wrong to harm. More musical, this bit was essentially a manipulation check. More intelligent in the case of monkeys, but less intelligent in the case of humans. And finally, more capable of both physical and emotional experiences. Next, we look at relationships across all characters. And to do this, we converted binary decisions into values on a continuous scale using the Thurstonian scaling method. And this graph plots those values for all characters across all factors. To start, here are the moral harm data. And you can immediately see that continuum as expected, which corresponds quite nicely to intelligence and sentience. For example, the robot was clearly rated as the least wrong to harm, while the baby was almost always most wrong to harm. Secondly, we see that participants can spontaneously reason about the musicality of others, even when information about musicality is not explicitly provided, and that musicality judgments are highly correlated with perceived intelligence and experience capacities. Finally, we find some initial evidence that musicality impacts moral standing above and beyond factors that are already known to have an impact. In a series of logistic regressions, adding musicality as a predictor explained harm judgments better than intelligence and sentience alone. So in summary, simply knowing that an entity was musical made them more wrong to harm. This effect was not driven solely by highly musical participants, and people use this information about musicality to judge other broader mental abilities. Our findings demonstrate that musicality is deeply interwoven with moral decisions, and they provide this novel connection between music and the social mind. Thank you all very much for listening. I'd love to chat more with you on Zoom about, among other things, the stimuli, the surprising intelligence data, how to convert binary to ordinal data, and why I think music in particular has these effects.